So do you have a script for me?
No, I don't. I just wanted to say hi.
You're getting me jealous because I saw you gave Marty a script.
Actually, it's more important. No,
I do stuff with technology. I invented a new app called Bonk. Have you heard of this?
Bounce?
Bonk. Picture of your face. Would you like to try it?
No.
Hollywood has told Clint Eastwood what to do many times, how to act, how to dress, whom to cast, and at what age he should stop. Every time, he has responded the same way, by continuing to work as though he never heard them.
Everybody said, oh, the studio's been evacuated. I said, well, we're not evacuated. We're here working. So
Yeah.
That is Clint Eastwood. When the entire studio was ordered to evacuate because of a wildfire, he looked around, saw that his crew was still there, and decided that apparently nobody was evacuating. For more than 70 years, Hollywood tried to turn him into a product. In the end, he changed the way Hollywood made movies, not with grand speeches, not with loud rebellions, just with an attitude so coldly stubborn it could drive people crazy. If a rule did not make sense, Clint simply did not follow it.
Do you think about, like, oh, I'm going to be 90? Does that matter to you?
I don't think about it.
And perhaps that is why age has never quite known what to do with him either. Before he became the man who could silence an entire room with one narrowed look, Clint Eastwood was just a contract actor earning $75 a week. He was not being handed important scripts. He accepted whatever roles the studio pushed his way, including movies he would later prefer to forget.
And Howard Koch, who's normally a very cool, collected type person, comes up to me and his hands were going up and down like a Singer sewing machine. And he says, Charlton Heston isn't shown up. Well, I didn't know he was supposed to be on the show, so I said, yeah, so.
Big deal, huh?
That is not a legend trying to make his past sound more impressive. That is a man admitting he once appeared in films with titles like The Giant Tarantula. But those years taught Clint something important. The studio did not always know what it was doing. Sometimes the people making the rules were guessing just like everyone else. The critics were no kinder. Time magazine once mocked Clint by claiming he had studied acting at the Mount Rushmore School of Drama, suggesting that his face was as stiff as stone.
What do you say to the critics? You get this all the time because you made a joke about it yourself. I think Time magazine or somebody said you studied at the Mount Rushmore Dramatic Society.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it was Time, but I don't say anything to them. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Many actors would carry a remark like that with them for the rest of their careers. Clint tells it as though it were a fairly good joke. He never denied the critics their right to judge him. He simply refused to give them the right to decide his value.
Fine, I really think this guy did a marvelous job. You see it in print, and it pumps you up for a second. But the main thing is, how does the public accept
right.
it?
Because if you let the critics get to you, you can really go around with a king-size knot in your stomach all the time.
Right, exactly.
The audience gave its answer clearly enough. They did not see a motionless face. They saw a man who did not need to wave his arms around to appear dangerous. Hollywood thought it was a weakness. Clint turned it into a trademark. When Clint agreed to star in a low-budget Western in Europe, it was not the kind of move an ambitious Hollywood star was expected to make. The film was shot in Spain, directed by an Italian, and featured actors speaking several different languages. The dialogue had to be dubbed afterward. Even a fistful of dollars reached audiences in Japan and Italy before finding its way back to America.
And others, of course. But when was the first time you heard that specific term used to describe
Well, they used to call, I think the Japanese termed them macaroni westerns when they first came out. They came out over there before they did here. At least Fistful of Dollars did, because it was held up in litigation due to a lot of problems in this country. So they called them macaroni westerns, and then somebody else grabbed them, the spaghetti westerns, which was logical because they were Italian productions.
While Hollywood was following an old set of rules, Sergio Leone did not even know that many of those rules existed. In America, filmmakers once believed that the man firing the gun and the man being shot should not appear in the same frame. Nobody told Leone, so he filmed them together.
You know, Gunsmoke, the beginning of those, it's always cut to the guy. And here, he didn't know anything about that, so he just tied everything all up, became very stylish.
But he had the wonderful things with the close-ups. He did a lot of pauses and the marvelous faces on the character actors.
Well, it was very operatic. You know,
What Hollywood considered wrong became an entirely new style. Faces filmed in extreme close-up, long stretches of silence, gunfire arriving only after the waiting had become unbearable. And in the center of that world stood Clint Eastwood, a man who spoke so little that every line sounded like a warning. But once the formula succeeded, he refused to let it trap him. Clint understood that one role could create a career, but repeating it for too long could also bury that career.
For me to move on with other things, and the current film that I know I'm not supposed to plug my film. I'm not made up my mind I wouldn't plug my
I know
film.
that. It's not easy, I
But
understand.
it's current film is a different spin on a Western.
Hollywood loves sequels. Clint prefers knowing when to leave the room. Clint once did something very few stars in his position would have considered. He ran for mayor of Carmel by the Sea, the small town where he lived. He won. But instead of treating it as the first step toward a new life in power, Clint served one 2-year term and walked away.
Clean the city up.
It was never dirty. It was never corrupt. It was just something that I enjoyed being involved with, but only for a 2-year term. I didn't want to get any further. A lot of people speculated that I might go into some other kind of state politics or run for Senate.
That is a rare kind of freedom in an industry that wants every success stretched out until there is nothing left to exploit. Clint could be a mayor without becoming a professional politician. He could be a star without living like a star. And he could appear on television without seeming particularly concerned about whether he was dressed formally enough.
One night, Clint, would it have killed you to wear a tie? I don't know. It's a big deal. Why not? It's not a barbecue.
They're booing you.
What is this?
David Letterman wanted a necktie. Clint answered by talking about his health. With anyone else, that might have sounded like avoiding the question. With Clint Eastwood, it somehow sounded like the only reasonable answer. At the Academy Awards, Charlton Heston was scheduled to appear and read a piece written specifically for his Moses-like image. But Heston did not arrive in time. Backstage, someone spotted Clint Eastwood, handed him the script, and pushed him directly in front of millions of viewers. The problem was that the material had not been written for Clint at all.
Yeah, and so he said he has to read the whole opening thing. He says, can you come back and do it? And I started to say no, and I was looking around for Gregory Peck, and my wife nudged me and said, go ahead, you can do it for him. And I was, boom.
Clint walked out and handled the situation in the only way he knew how, by refusing to pretend that everything was going according to plan. Perhaps that awkwardness was exactly what he liked about early live television. When a camera failed, a prop fell over, or someone forgot a line, audiences got to watch real people trying to rescue the moment.
Everything was right now because you had those minor disasters that set in, and as important as they look at the time, they're really not important in the whole scheme of things.
And everybody would look at each other.
The actors will go up in the lines, and you didn't know what to do. But that's what makes that kind of a show.
Yeah.
Hollywood saw mistakes as things that needed to be erased. Clint believed they were what made a program interesting. He did not love perfection. He loved the moment perfection collapsed and forced people to reveal who they really were. In 2015, 3 American men helped stop an attack aboard a train bound for Paris. When Clint made a film about their story, Hollywood had a familiar solution: hire movie stars to play them. Clint asked why the 3 men could not simply play themselves.
You decided to make a movie about this, starring the actual guys, instead of replacing them with actors like they do.
The decision made many people nervous. They were not actors. They had never carried a major motion picture. They did not understand how the Hollywood system worked. But that was exactly what Clint wanted.
I just looked at him and I said, I don't know if I can find guys with the same faces and the same enthusiasm. I'm sure I could have, but it just seemed like an interesting idea.
A professional actor could recreate the event. Those 3 men had actually lived through it. Clint did not want to trade real experience for a more polished version. Shortly before filming began, Spencer Stone asked whether they should take a few acting classes. Clint's answer probably made every acting teacher in Los Angeles choke.
Don't you think we ought to take acting lessons? And I said, no, please don't.
Yeah, right.
I don't want. I mean, acting lessons are great if you're going to go into it for a profession and you're going to stay with the program. But for this, I just want you guys. I don't want any.
Do not study acting. Do not try to become someone else. Do not perform your own life. Jimmy Kimmel immediately realized that Clint had accidentally insulted nearly the entire professional acting community.
And they did a great job. It really is a slap in the face to professional actors is what it is.
Clint simply sat there smiling. After decades in the business, His greatest rebellion was not creating something more spectacular than Hollywood. It was removing the things Hollywood added. In one film, Clint named 2 characters after Sergio Leone and Don Siegel, the 2 directors who had influenced him deeply. Later, some people suggested he was performing a symbolic ritual to bury the past. Clint heard that interpretation and calmly explained that, no, that was not what he meant.
I think some people tried to draw the significance that I was burying my past or something like that. People who were mentors and helped me out.
Sometimes a tribute is simply a tribute. Sometimes a red door is just a red door. And sometimes a quiet man simply does not want to talk very much. That directness creates strange situations because Clint's reputation has grown so large that even introducing himself can sound like a joke.
Just a second. I said, tell him Clint Eastwood's calling. And all of a sudden she comes back and says, who is this? And I said, it's Clint Eastwood calling. Tell him Clint Eastwood calling. And then so all of a sudden he comes on. He comes on and he goes, is this Bob?
Perhaps that is how you know you have become a legend. People no longer believe Clint Eastwood would actually call them. The name itself sounds too much like a character invented by Hollywood. Audiences are accustomed to seeing him with a gun, a cold stare, and the posture of a man who does not need to prove that he is dangerous. For decades, Clint became the model of the tough American movie hero.
But people think of you as a bad guy, like a mean guy.
Yeah.
You do that very well, though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But away from the screen, the most dangerous man in Hollywood often destroys that image with details nobody could have expected. Jimmy Fallon imagined Clint driving a classic muscle car, something loud, powerful, and appropriate for Dirty Harry. Clint revealed what he actually drove.
What do you drive?
I drive a Typhoon, a GMC Typhoon.
Not long afterward, the man who once frightened the entire Old West announced that he had invented a phone app.
Cars around here because I just walk everywhere. But I do stuff with technology. I invented a new app called Bonk. Have you heard of this?
Bounce?
Bonk.
Bunk?
Yeah, it's Bonk. It takes a picture of your face. Would you like to try it?
No.
That may be the funniest thing about Clint Eastwood. He never tries to prove that he is cool. So even while learning how to take selfies and talking about an app called Bonk, he still appears calmer than everyone around him. And sometimes, Clint appears on a television show without a script, without a project to promote, and without any important story he wants to tell.
So do you have a script for me?
No, I don't. I just wanted to say
Now
hi.
you're getting me jealous because I saw you gave Marty a script.
Actually, it's more important. No,
He simply wants to stop by and say hello to Ellen. A Hollywood star normally appears because of a promotional agreement. Clint Eastwood appears because he happens to be nearby. Clint worked at Warner Brothers for roughly 4 decades, but his office was not known for awards, prestigious photographs, or powerful meetings. It was known for squirrels.
I don't know if anybody else has squirrels that go into the office, but he actually puts nuts out on the desk, and they come into the office, and the squirrels hang out in Clint's office.
They hang for a while, and then they get bored, and they leave.
That image almost sums up Clint Eastwood completely. Outside the room stood one of the most powerful movie studios in the world. Inside, a legendary director kept seeds on his desk and waited for squirrels to visit. While other people were busy protecting their status, Clint kept making movies. Eventually, even he could no longer remember exactly how many films he had directed.
But you've done like basically 9 movies in 9 years. This was your 30th film you just did, is that right?
I think so, yes.
Wow.
30 films. And his answer sounded as though someone had asked how many cups of coffee he had consumed. After all those years, Clint still found his way to a place without cameras, critics, or people trying to explain who he was. He flew his own helicopter, not to impress anyone, simply because in the sky, nobody could tell him which road to take.
And what do you do like when you're not writing, directing, editing, acting, being completely in this business besides tearing the... What do you do for fun, hobbies?
Fly helicopters, so I sometimes go off and just fly a helicopter because you can be very quiet by yourself. You don't have to, you're just a number in the sky, so it's great.
Hollywood wanted Clint to act more. He acted less. They wanted to keep him in westerns. He moved into the director's chair. They wanted professional actors. He chose real people. They wanted flawless productions. He loved the accidents of live television. They wanted him to rest. He continued filming while the studio was being evacuated. Clint Eastwood did not break Hollywood by declaring war on it. He did something even more irritating. He proved that most of its rules had never been necessary. Hollywood has spent decades creating men who try to look like Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood never wasted time trying to look like Hollywood.